This is Tom Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to the Daily Compliance News. The Daily Compliance News is the only daily podcast which curates 4 top compliance, ethics, and/or corruption stories for your listening and viewing pleasure if you're watching this on YouTube. We daily look at some of the top stories, and it gives you a great way to start your day around compliant ethics and sometimes corruption. So check out the Daily Compliance News. It's on the Compliance Podcast Network. Also, if you haven't done so, please check out AI Today in 5, where I look at 5 AI compliance-related stories on a daily basis as well. Thank you. The Daily Compliance News for September 11, 2025, the Lest We Never Forget edition. And I put that moniker on this edition because I would ask you to think about 9/11, what it meant to you and what it meant to our country and the world, and how much everything changed on that date, and of course for all of those who lost their lives. Our first story comes to us from Reuters, which reports that when Nepal banned major social media platforms last week, GenZ activists saw it as an attempt to silence their growing movement against corruption, and they sprung into action with in-person protests, and that led to the fall of the Nepali Prime Minister, who is now out. Next up, from the Financial Times, China amps up pressure on the son of the former top securities regulator by detaining his son, who is or was rather a senior banker. He worked at the state bank, China International Capital Corporation, one of the country's leading investment banks, and was taken away by authorities in recent weeks as a part of his investigation into his father. Nothing like bringing your relatives and children in for interrogation that will get you focused. From the Wall Street Journal, a very troubling article that the general counsel of Goldman Sachs in 2019 was listed as a backup executor in Jeffrey Epstein's will. At the time, she was a lawyer at Latham Watkins, and the newly released documents continues to show her as a trusted associate of Epstein after the Miami Herald shed light on his case, igniting the firestorm that led to his arrest later that year. So, pretty tough look for Ms. Rumler, and it's going to be interesting to see how this might play out for both Goldman Sachs and her former law firm. And our final story comes to us from Bloomberg, which reports that Citi and UBS units have settled with the CFTC over compliance complaints. They agreed to pay a total of $8.3 million to settle CFTC claims over compliance-related violations, including record-keeping and reporting lapses. The penalties were part of the Enforcement Sprint initiative that the acting chairman debuted back in March to encourage businesses under scrutiny from the agency to come up with reasonable offers to quickly settle cases that did not involve market abuse or consumer harm. So the Enforcement Sprint is continuing, and it appears that both Citi and UBS were the beneficiaries of this. It's unknown how many more companies have or will settle under this Enforcement Sprint, but if the agencies were trying to get companies to come in and settle, it looks like they've had some success in doing that. So kudos. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.